Hi, welcome to the Ronnie O'Sullivan Show. I'm here in Reading to play in the Legends Cup, and I'm here to meet a few of my heroes too.
Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Ronnie O'Sullivan Show, a snooker legends special. Coming up, Ronnie sits down to chat with his all-time snooker hero, Jimmy White.
No disrespect to any of the other players, you know, I could have won 10 World Championships if I'd have behaved a bit more, you know.
He catches up with 10 times world ladies champion, Rhian Evans.
I think next year they might need a woman on there, so...
Plus, there's another instalment of his snooker masterclass. This time, the art of safety play. Back at the start of May, the snooker season came to a dramatic end, with Ronnie O'Sullivan narrowly losing out to Mark Selby in the World Championship final. 3 weeks after that final, the Rocket is back with a cue in his hand to compete in the Legends Cup alongside some of the greatest players to have graced the bays. For snooker fans, it's a dream day out, but for Ronnie, it's all about playing alongside one legend in particular.
Not only do the fans get to meet their heroes, I get to play with mine, and I'm here with Jimmy White this morning in Reading. How are you, Jim?
I'm very well, thanks. You're certainly my hero now.
You're captured in the Legends Cup this weekend. It's our third year, I think, we've been here.
Yeah.
What does it mean to you to sort of play in events like this?
Yeah, well, it's great. Obviously, it's not a major tournament on the calendar yet, but we don't have any doubles or any team events. So this is the Legends Cup's our third year, and we're 11-2 up at the moment. You haven't lost one, I haven't lost one, so we're winning quite easy. But it's good fun, and there's a little bit of money involved. We're all trying to win, so it's good.
Talking about the doubles there, my earliest memory of you, Jimmy, is kind of watching you play with Alex Higgins in the Hofmeister doubles. You had Davis playing with me, you were Higgins. You had the total contrast of like the two people champions there. What was that like to play in sort of matches and tournaments like that?
It was a great event, and I partnered Tony Knowles for 5 years. We got to 4 finals, and me and Davis beat us every time. And then I partnered Higgins, and we won it. And as you know, Davis was like a machine in them days, a bit like the sort of similarities to Selby, who beat you in the World Championships. Because for me, you know, you don't play your natural game, and you know, you get tied up in too much safety. And I don't think it's our type of game, you know. And obviously, you missed a couple of balls to have really kicked on. Like I missed a few balls with Davis years ago, and he just grinds you down. And if you're not prepared mentally for enjoying that type of safety, you know, that was what Davis used to do to me all the time. But fortunately for yourself, you've seen the Davis of the winning type, and you bypassed sort of the, you know, like playing to the crowd. But your game is so entertaining for the crowd anyway. People just love the way you go about it, your speed, you're trying to create it. You know, commentators haven't got a clue when you're playing, which is great. But you're trying to win the game in one visit, and that's what sport's about, you know, is perfection.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think the big turning point for me was when I started working with Reardon. Yeah. Because I played safe before, but then I started working with Reardon, and he was like, well, if you're going to play safe, play good safety.
Absolutely.
So I kind of learnt a lot from Reardon, and I kind of, you know, I adopted that philosophy for a couple of years, and, you know, trying to marry the two together was quite frustrating for me at times, because you know, a lot of the times I'd come off the table and I'd be on my interval, and most people would just be on their second frame. That's kind of how I got used to it. And once I started working with Reardon, I'd be coming off, and all the players would be back after their interval, and they'd be 4-3, and I'm still like 2-all. I thought, what's going on here? So I suffered it for a while, but I did find myself thinking, well, I just really want to express myself. You know, that's really where I enjoy the love the game.
And improved unbelievably.
Would you like to? Would you can have your time again?
I don't know. No, if I had my time again, obviously, I would have prepared a lot more better. But you know, I'm still enjoying what I'm doing. You know, my life's good. But I would have got into the safety a bit more. I wouldn't have pushed the boat out so much. But safety is such a big part of the game now. You know, these new players are coming through. It's not. They can make 1-4-7s, but unless they've got a good safety play to get in, they're not going to win.
How do you compare snooker from the 80s and the 90s to how it is now, you know, and how it was, you know, up until 2 or 3 years ago.
It was different class then because you only had 4 channels and you play one match and you wouldn't play for 3 more days, which you would find that annoying now. Now it's like it's so intense, you know, and I think you do the right thing by picking and choosing what tournaments.
That's funny that you say that because I think one of the only tournaments that kind of gave me the opportunity to play early and then kind of have 4 or 5 days off was the Welsh Open. And I remember after the Masters, I just thought I just want to put my cue down for like 3 or 4 weeks. There isn't a tournament. I ended up chilling out, and then I was like, oh, I've only got 2 or 3 days to practice for the Welsh. I remember having a couple of days but thinking, oh, I'm still not sharp. I got through my first round. Now about 3 or 4 days to kind of practice. And I found at the time I got to my second round, I was just peaking right, and each match I got stronger and stronger.
Absolutely, yeah. You played phenomenal snooker in the Welsh. This is why everyone thought it was a no-brainer this year in the World Championships. But that little hiccup for me, for you, you know, I think you can win 8. If I would have sort of played the winning game, no disrespect to any of the other players, you know, I would have won 10 World Championships if I'd have behaved a bit more, you know, but I think you're doing absolutely the right thing. And the way you played in the Welsh and parts of the World Championships, you know, it's just up to you, son.
You talk about sort of, I've followed your career, like, you know, I've watched you play, like, when I was like 13, 14, you was obviously the main man at the time. I mean, I remember just watching you when I first come on a tour, and I see you used to walk in, mate. The tour would be kind of, you get there and you'd be like, yeah, it's a buzz, but then you'd walk in and it'd be like, the old dynamics of the tournament changed, you know. I don't know if you was aware of that.
Well, you know, as you talk about winning, you know, by having the type of game that I sort of used to thrive on and enjoy, you know, it cost you so many tournaments because, you know, you play to the crowd a bit. You play the wrong shots, you know, but you wanted to entertain the crowd. But that's the way I love to play. You play like that if you want to, you know. But you've got more into the side of like learning more of the competing with the safety, and you're probably the best safety player in the world, you know. But you're not. That's not for me your passion of when you're playing. You like to play a good safety shot, but you want to clear up. When it gets to a couple of reds left, you know, the Davises and the Selbys of this world, they thrive on that.
I remember I've watched so many of your matches, and I was reading about some stuff about some of the games you played, and you say that the best game you ever played was when you played Parrott in the final of the UK Championships. I was interested to read that because obviously you've played in so many big matches, so many fantastic games, but yet that was the one that you seem to think that you couldn't play any better. Why?
Well, because I won 16-14, and we was never one frame in it until the end. I'd make a 70, he'd make 100, and it was top snooker. There was in the whole match, there was only like 2 games each side that were stolen from like 60 behind. And then just as we got to like 14, 13, I just kicked on and I just made the, you know, and it was always about that, because when you've got a good player playing well against you and you know that if you make a mistake he's going to punish you, and you just know that, oh, well, I just got to keep playing at my best, and it just, from start to finish, it was the best match I think he's ever played. Besides, when he beat me in the World Championships, the first 7 frames he played in the morning, you know, they were like quality. But for me, that was the best match I ever had that I won, because I was in loads of classic matches, but I lost because, you know, I'd still occasionally would go for the shot to sort of force it and miss it, and it, you know, it would cost me a lot of matches.
Stay tuned, as there's more from the Whirlwind in part 2.
That probably cost me so many tournaments, because then it was, my main practice was just trying to control flair.
Welcome back to the Ronnie O'Sullivan Show. With Ronnie starring in the Legends Cup alongside his all-time hero, Jimmy White, it gave him a bit more time to grill the Whirlwind before play started on day 2.
Who inspired you, though, when you first started playing? Because, you know, we all have someone that makes...
Well, Higgins was my hero, you know. For me, Higgins made the game of snooker. You know, he was flamboyant, but he was also a shot maker, and, you know, and he had plenty of bottle. You know, he could win, he'd give it 1,000,000% every time he played. And wherever he was at tournaments, he'd find a working man's club, and he'd play all day long on the worst tables ever. You know, he'd get the balls clean, put them in the microwave in the local club, and he'd just play all day. He wouldn't go to snooker clubs, he'd go to working man's clubs.
Right, okay, yeah.
He'd send a mate out to find which one has sort of a newish cloth, and then he'd go down there and he'd be there every day. So he was more dedicated than people think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember like watching, like, I think a lot of people don't realise how good a safety player Higgins was.
Oh, magic, yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching him down in Blackpool and kind of, you know, when I was first turned pro, and I remember speaking to you and you was like, yeah, people don't realise how good a safety player. So I was watching for it, and, you know, he was a clever player, wasn't he?
Very clever player, yeah. He's, you know, he was creative and he had such natural talent that, you know, he'd find routes out with safety like no one else, you know, but he'd also like the flair shot.
I'd say you're a current day player, you're attacking aggressive like the modern day player. But how would you compare the game as it is today as it was maybe in the 80s?
Well, you know, I think, and you'll agree with me, I think, that, you know, Davis was like a master, he was like a machine. He had such good cue ball control when he was in the balls. He's not lost that now, you know, and his safety play was next to none. So if you played the Nugget at his best, even if you beat the Nugget, which a player like me was open, you'd have to really like play well and create chances from nowhere. And if you beat the Nugget sort of well, you still feel like you was in a massive battle, you know, he's that type of player. So I think today you've got Mark Selby, you know, quality temperament, quality fighter, you know, quality player, but you've got a lot of players, you know, Ding's good at scoring, Robertson's sort of solid and all that, but I think Hendry and yourself took it to a bit of the next level, but I think it's sort of, you know, apart from you two, I think the game is not that much better than it was in the 80s for me. You know, the stats show different things, but well, I'd get to 75, won the frame, he needs 2 snookers, I'd play a flair shot. So, you know, there wasn't that many centuries.
I tend to agree with you, really. I think there's a lot of strength in depth nowadays. There's so many of them. I mean, some people I don't even recognise, but you watch them queue up and you think, well, they could all make 100 break. Yeah. But I just think there's the kind of, like, if you go back 15, 20 years ago, you know, when I first turned professional, there was you, there was Hendry, there was Higgins, there was Williams. And when you look at that, I mean, that top 6 or top 8, I think me personally think that would beat this top 6 or top 8. I think the standard of the top 8 players was better than the top 8 players now. Would you agree?
I agree with you, but then you've got to feel for the modern day players because they're having these tournaments in tournaments. You know, they're going through where they have to play every week because they don't have to, but you choose not to, but they play every week. So it's hard for them to maintain their top form. In the time you was talking about, we had a lot of time off. You'd have 6 weeks off before, in between each tournament. You know, you'd only have like sort of 8, 10 tournaments a year. So, yeah, I'd agree with you to a point of the actual playing, but I think that's because of Hearns making them play all the time.
Yeah.
So they can't improve, if you know what I mean.
Another thing I want to ask you about is that the fans, obviously, you know, you're the people's champion and, you know, the most exciting player and everyone wanting you to win and kind of like, how did you kind of deal with that as like in a pressure way? Because, I mean, I've had similar personalities, similar to the way we play, so I've experienced a bit of that myself. Not to the level you've had it, but I kind of did feel a bit of pressure myself sometimes. I didn't want to let the fans down, and you kind of feel like you've got this massive support from the whole country, even the world. I mean, how did you kind of cope with that, you know?
Good and bad. I had a tremendous amount of support because, you know, people felt sorry for me for losing so many finals. But I got that fan base through playing the game that I played, by attacking, by entertaining, because that was my style of play. but sort of I touched the nation in a little bit where, you know, I got beat and sort of, you know, I never screamed why I lost, and you know, I took it sort of with dignity sort of thing. So I sort of got very close to the fans, but that comes through with the way you play, you know, and you know, your fan base is the biggest in snooker, and that is because of the way you play. You know, they get to know you personally about your characters only after they've fallen for the way you play.
Did you find that positive though when you were playing in matches to have them on your side, or was there times where you thought I'd rather be in Stephen Hendry's backyard in Scotland playing against him and have him rooting for me to beat him? So I had to
yeah, I can see what you're saying, but you know as well as I do, when you're focused, you're in the bubble, and when you're like really playing well, and you know when this ball goes in to make the century, you know that the cheer's going up. So there's nothing like that as well. So it's the balance,
managing
I think.
it, managing the emotions of not getting too high or too low, just staying present.
But you know, they love you, you know, because it's the way you play the game.
It's a great feeling though, knowing that when you go there to play, that you know, the way you play, the way you know that they're for you.
Absolutely, you know, in all sorts of sports, you have, how can you say, you have sort of entertainers, you have winners, like, who can entertain as well, but, you know, we're lucky to play the way we play. All right?
Thanks, Jim. That's all right.
Stay tuned, because after the break we'll hear from 10 times ladies world champion Rhiannon Evans, plus there's Ronnie's tips on how to become an expert in the art of safety play.
Right, now we come to probably one of the most important parts of the game, along with break building. You've now got your safety side to the game. This will allow you to contain your opponent, to create opportunities. You couldn't look any further than someone, say, like Steve Davis, John Higgins. For me, they're the two best safety players I've ever played against. And today I'm going to be showing you one where you're trying to keep the balls tight, one where you're trying to play an aggressive attacking, and one where you're going to be playing a containing shot. Now I'm going to be playing the first type of safety, which is trying to keep the red stuck into them reds without trying to spread them and trying not to leave anything on. Go down onto the shot. Trying to miss the bulk colours at all costs, which I've managed to do. Coming through the yellow and the brown. And to me, that looks like quite a reasonable safety shot. Now we go on to the second safety shot that I was talking about, and this is called the aggressive shot. You're playing well, you're feeling confident. You don't want to get tied down in those long safety battles. The reds are sort of tightly bunched together, but you've got one red out, which you can control really well. So the aim of the shot is to try and pop this, hit this red into these other reds. Again, get that white deep into that corner pocket as much as I can. And hopefully the balls are split open nice. But always concentrate on getting a good white. You can see I've opened the reds up nicely. I've managed to get a Brucey bonus, which is the snooker behind the green. But as you can see, I've now opened all these reds up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 reds that are potable. I've now got him in the snooker. He's banging trouble. This one is my least favourite. This means you're in a certain amount of trouble. You're not able to get the white ball back to bulk. Your only option now is to try and leave your white as tight to the back cushion as you can. What we're going to try and do here is play this red here, white off the side cushion, let it just trickle into the back cushion. I'm snookered on this red here, so I can't get back to bulk. It's the only shot available to me. It's not one that I actually want to play, but it's the only shot I can play. So the idea now is to get down here, try and hit this nice and smooth. You get a good white, leave the white as close to the bottom cushion as you can. That way he can't be aggressive with his shot. And as you can see, there's no damage done. I haven't put him in trouble, but again, it serves a purpose. It's kept me in the game. You know, sometimes you have to be patient, and sometimes you have to play that containing shot. one common theme amongst all of them safety shots, they were all played with topspin. Very rarely will you be playing safety shots where you'll be creating backspin. Sometimes you need to, but 90% of the time, a lot of the shots are played with topspin. And for me, the best player in the game at doing that is John Higgins, followed closely by Mark Selby. One of the masters of it was Steve Davis. He was the one we all learnt from. He was the master of topspin, splitting the reds open, getting a good white. So always bear in mind that when you're playing these safety shots, a lot of it is topspin, but controlled topspin. Not to the point where you're hitting it 100 miles an hour. You want to control every shot you hit, but creating topspin.
First staged in 2012, the Legends Cup has provided snooker fans with an opportunity to see some of their heroes up close and personal. This year, the England team dominated the rest of the world on day one, and on day two, they were closing in on victory. Amongst the likes of the Nugget, the Whirlwind and the Rocket, the star of the show turned out to be Rhiannon Evans. Ronnie caught up with her in the mid-session break on day two.
I'm here at the Red and Green Hexagon with Rhiannon Evans, who's won the world title 10 times. How are you, Rhiannon? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Yeah? Have you enjoyed your weekend here at the Legends Cup?
It's been fantastic. Obviously, I've never done anything like this before, but great atmosphere, good laugh as well.
Tell me then how you first got involved with snooker. What made you decide you wanted to play snooker in the beginning?
I was about 13, 14, I used to watch my brothers play, and they made century breaks and things like that. And I thought one day I just picked up a cue, and it came natural to me, so ever since then, so I got my brother to blame.
OK. I'm interested to know then, when you're kind of like, because it's a pretty male-dominated sport, and then when you go down the snooker world, obviously it's like full of guys. How did they take it, like when you come along and start beating the guys?
Well, I've grown up with it with my brothers and their friends and going watching, so they sort of knew me around my area. It was when you go, like, different places around the country, and then they're like, oh,
yeah,
there's a woman playing over there. But now, 90% of the time, I'm like settled in, and it's not that bad for me.
I want to talk a little bit about when you come onto the tour. I know you had a full season on the main tour.
Yeah.
You got a wild card on there, so you had the opportunity to play in lots of events. You know, how did you find that coming from like the ladies tour, where you were obviously dominating, won 10 world titles, and obviously there's no one there to push you?
It was daunting. It was daunting. Everything was different for me. Obviously, the conditions, you have referee, you mean like that cubicle on your own and things like that. But my game did improve. It did improve. I noticed it when I was going back to the ladies' game, and I was like not losing as many frames, or I was winning by more and things like that. But in general, the reception I had from most of the players was spot on. And now and again, you're going to have your critics, but I really enjoyed myself, and I was grateful for the experience as well.
Why do you think there isn't so many ladies, you know, like that play to the level that you do? I mean, I'm just interested to know. Yeah,
there is a few good lady players out there all around the world as well. It's not just in England, but I just don't think they have the opportunity to play, even to practice more. They haven't got the incentive to play. So hopefully, with all this and the coverage and everything, it'll increase the lady players around the world and improve the standard of the ladies' game.
Do you see yourself kind of feeling like you've outgrown the women's game and you want to push on? I mean, like, what targets have you set yourself?
I want to try and get on the tour through my own merit and then try and compete, like, but it may happen, it may not, but that's my target. Also, this left-handed, I've been watching you play. I mean, obviously the first time I see you play, but you look so natural and so... It looks like you're going to pop the ball, you look like fantastic. How did that, I mean, do you work on that, or is it something that comes natural to you? I've always done it, because I hated the rest. I'm like Drago, hate the rest. Yeah. But, no, it's just every time I've, like, sort of thought, shall I? And then I was passing the ball, so like 80 breaks my eyes left-handed. But I think it's a great asset to have. I mean, there's some shots I can play better left-handed than I can right foot. I don't know why, but I just happen to play them. So, like, my break-off was never great. Yeah. But left-handed, I always seem to get a decent white and not leave that shot to nothing. Yeah, it's very strange, because I feel comfortable. Yeah. I probably feel more comfortable when I play left-handed. It's strange. But you kind of lose a bit of touch, but you've got a little bit of something else that... If you haven't got to use it all the time, you've got more confidence in it. You can use it as like a little bit of an asset. But, I mean, watching you play, I was saying, I did think I was the best ambidextrous player, but you are by far better than me. Oh, no,
you are...
No. I saw the red on your maximum.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. That was luck.
I agree.
Anyway, this weekend we've done really well. We're 16-3 up at the moment, so we've got 2 more to go. I think it's in the bag. What do you reckon? I think next year they might need a woman on there, so... It'll be 8 in then. They might win a frame. No, it's been fantastic. Obviously, it was like a freak day yesterday, only frames we won, but we set a good standard, so... Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure playing with you for last weekend. Pleasure to meet you, and obviously enjoyed having you in the team. And so, same again next year.
It's not been too bad having you on my team yet.
See you next year.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice one. Good luck.
Cheers.
So, going into the last session of the weekend, England needed just 2 points for victory, and it didn't take long before they were over the winning line. And, as expected, Rhian Evans took home the trophy for most valuable player.
Really happy to have won the Legends Cup. The guys have done really well. You know, Jimmy, Rhian, Steve, so nice to get hands on another trophy. It's been great speaking to Jimmy and having a good laugh with all the guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.
We'll be back in September for the next instalment of the Ronnie O'Sullivan Show as the tour moves to China for the Shanghai Masters. Until then, be sure to stay tuned to Eurosport for all the best snooker action from around the globe. Goodbye for now.